In this video, I'll be covering my new essay, which is titled Why Romance is a Curse, Not a Blessing. I'll be a little bit more, playful with my tone. I'll talk with more, energy, and I'll try to explain anything which might seem quite difficult to grasp, so that the viewer can get the main ideas into their head. So, without further ado, let's begin. Romance is often seen as a beautiful adventure that we cannot do without. Romance is romanticized in books, films, music, and theater, often overemphasizing the good parts while brushing away the bad parts. Modern society has turned romance into something desirable, even though it ruins our lives and has its foundations rooted in illusions. In this essay, I will cover various philosophers' opinions on romance, philosophers such as Friedrich Nietzsche, Emil Cioran, and Arthur Schopenhauer. Believe it or not, they were quite negative to romance, and yeah, I'll just be talking about their opinions and giving some of my own ideas on why romance could potentially be harmful. As you can probably hear, I'm sick, but that doesn't change anything. I'll still record this. All forms of media which portray romance feature the protagonist romanticizing their lover, turning them into someone of their dreams. The protagonist projects positive values onto their lover, values such as honesty, strength, determination, or kindness. That's really all it is. It is a diluted projection. These positive characteristics, which we often put onto our lover in a fit of obsession, hold no bearing to reality and are often built upon fraudulent claims such as, I saw him holding the door for a girl previously. That must mean he has a kind heart. We constantly make up these illusions just because our mind is so infatuated with our lover, and so we try to project on them, if you know what I mean. So we build up a certain false persona, a false lover that is nothing but a romanticized illusion. This transgression against rationality is bad enough as it is, but it gets even worse when we see our illusions shatter. After having built up this false perception of your lover, anything they do will come to dissatisfy you. Observe just a speck of stupidity in your dreamed up and intelligent if you're in your dreamed up, intelligent, and reflective lover, and you're bound to meet suffering head on. The stronger the romanticization, the stronger the grief you'll experience when reality finally hits you in the face. Furthermore, we who are vigilant and care about our self image, people like me, and maybe some of you out there, will come to ruin when we finally see how foolishly we deluded ourselves. We see the lump of flesh we've lowered our guard for, turning vulnerable, vowing to spend time with, possibly even vowing to sacrifice ourselves for their love, and we begin to lambaste our stupidity. We fall from the heavens all the way back down to earth, this time harboring a sense of precaution and contempt when it comes to romantic relationships. And, better yet, all the time and energy you spent dreaming away about your illusionary lover has just been thrown away, completely and utterly shredded to pieces. That energy and time could have been spent advancing towards your goals, making an effort to become a greater person, but it was all spent on dreaming about false impressions. To sin means to miss your mark. I remember I learned that from a podcast by Andrew Huberman and Jordan Peterson. Well, this would mean that romance would, in this sense, be sitting twice in one act. To completely delude yourself so that you yearn for something harmful, that's the first sin, and then to be completely wrong in the contents of your yearning. So, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's you yearn for something harmful, that's deluding yourself, that's the first one, and then to be wrong in the contents of that harmful thing. So that's believing that they're kind, believing that they're intelligent, something that we things that we romanticize about and dream up. That's missing the mark twice, okay? Now, Emil Cioran saw romance as an act of deluding oneself in order to escape the sufferings of the world, to create a false reality where everything is romanticized, to create meaning in the world of meaninglessness. He saw romance as a pitiful attempt at escaping the futility of being. Therefore, even though I condemn romance and call it a curse, I fully understand why people indulge in it. Romance is a way to escape suffering, but it is not fault free. Romance is a drug in the sense that the addict must constantly revitalize his love, slowly ruining himself in the process. He goes to far lengths to achieve that high of love, forgetting about his own subjectivity in the process. That's why it cannot be called a blessing. And when I mean that the addict forgets about his own subjectivity in the process, I mean that the addict, he forgets about his true self that maybe likes books, maybe likes philosophy, maybe cares about his family, hangs out with friends a lot. I mean, just think about the times you've been in love. All the all the things you truly cared about before that, they kind of turn like they turn meaningless, you know? It's just not as important as your romantic lover and the impression you make on them. I often struggle with precisely that, being unsure of whether or not I should pursue personal endeavors or take a step back and relax, enjoying the various pleasures which life has to bring. Sometimes I see romantic relationships as being totally futile, especially when you're mingling with a person that lacks intellect. I often curse the very universe for having to have offered me a sexual drive, something I could very well have done without. This problem is something I personally struggle with, something which most others could not relate to because of a certain affliction I personally must deal with. This affliction being a hyperfixation on my ultimate goal. I often overthink what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be. But if you think about it, romance is just another way of having fun in life. The same fun a person derives from writing essays such as these and developing their intellectual prowess. There is no difference in studying philosophy and pursuing a romantic relationship at the end of the day. They both bring the individual pleasure, something which us hedonists believe to be the only semi meaningful thing valuable of pursuit in this world. Let me expand upon that idea and tell you why pleasure may be the only thing important in this world. I believe that the world is utterly meaningless. You can always try to find meaning in writing, philosophy, maybe science, whatever it may be. But when you really question the nature of the world, it is utterly meaningless. And there exists a couple of philosophies that try to solve this meaninglessness. You have Christianity, you have, I guess, Buddhism, you have, I don't know if Stoicism tackles it, but Stoicism is a way to escape that displeasure. But anyway, the various world philosophies all try to escape the displeasures of, I guess, meaninglessness by offering meaning. They try to tell you that this is the true path and this is what is meaning, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's just a way to escape this pleasure and offer the person pleasure. Even the Stoics, like, I guess, disavowal of material things such as money, women, etc., is just another way to feel happy, to feel good about themselves, and to feel like they're like fulfilling their spiritual needs. Same for the, I guess, same for the Christians. I mean, they try to disavow all these material things, but at the end of the day, they're just doing it to feel good about themselves, to justify their own, I guess, justify their, not justify, but to just try to strive for greatness, try to strive to become closer to God. And that's really pleasurable. And that's why these philosophies exist. There are just alternative ways to get pleasure. It's not, it's, they're basically hedonism. Back to the text. Romance is inherently chaotic. It brings uncertainty and takes a lot of effort to maintain. We have to constantly consider our partner's feelings, where their boundaries lay, anything we could have done to upset them, etc. This chaos is inherent in every important task we undertake, be it attempting to become a writer or saving up to buy a house. Chaos lurks in every corner, so we must be cautious of what forms of chaos we bring into our lives. The chaos of romance is only justified by the pangs of loneliness the single man must live with. God damn, I can't read. Okay, let me reread that. The chaos of romance is only justified by the pangs of loneliness the single man must live with. Without it, romance would have been a totally irrational endeavor. The various uncertainties it brings into one's life is simply not worth it and could rather be replaced with the uncertainties of fulfilling your purpose, be it writing, art, philosophy, or something else which brings unimaginable rewards and does not involve the power dynamic between possessed and possessor. This power dynamic is something that Nietzsche, one of the world's greatest philosophers, argued for. More on that later. Let me just explain this paragraph right here. As I'm saying here, I think that the risks of romance outweigh the, I guess, the benefits of it. I think that there are way, like, way more pleasurable tasks you can do that require less risk, such as, I guess, following following your craft. I guess, I don't know, like developing yourself, be it spiritually or psychologically. I guess taking up art classes, taking up whatever you're interested in, classes and whatever you're interested in. I think that that's really how you find, I guess, fulfillment. I mean, you find fulfillment in being able to, I guess, fulfill your character, to grow your character and see it become something greater than what you were. I think that's the greatest fulfillment. And I don't think chaos. I mean, I don't think romance is the way to go. I mean, just way too chaotic. So let me talk about what Friedrich Nietzsche thought. Okay, this power dynamic is something that Nietzsche, one of the world's greatest philosophers, argued for. Nietzsche believed that romance was just another exercise to strengthen one's will to power. He did not believe that romance could ever manifest in a selfless, Christ like love observed in Dostoevsky's The Idiot. Now, what I'm referring to here is the Dostoevsky's The Idiot's main character is Prince Mushkin, and the way he dabbles in romance and love is something you will not see in the real world. He's incredibly selfless, offering a woman a bunch of money to escape her, I guess, escape her forced marriage, just so that she could have a better life. And he asks for nothing in return. That is a really selfless, Christ like love that may even seem stupid to others. That's why it's called The Idiot. I mean, that's why Dostoevsky called the book The Idiot, because other people in the society he lived in looked at him as if he was an idiot. So, in this case, engaging in romance would lead to you either struggling for freedom under your romantic partner's thumb or you exercising your will upon them. I'm talking about the Friedrich Nietzsche will to power thing. Such an endeavor would cause the possessor to become disillusioned. They would begin to believe they are entitled and would take less and less responsibility for their outcome in life, whilst the possessed would grow dependent and weak as an outcome of constantly submitting to another's will. When it comes to me personally, I've never had these problems with romance. I never criticized romance for being a power struggle or a cheap way to escape life's displeasures. I had different reasons for disliking it, wholly personal and circumstantial reasons. Without getting into many details, I'm fairly young. This youth entails that the people within my social circles have not yet figured out who they are or who they want to become. In fact, almost all the people around me seem lost, unsure of where they should go or what they should do. This is acceptable, but what rubs me the wrong way is that no one seems to care for their future. Women in my social circles do not develop themselves spiritually or psychologically. They do not take risks and they do not create action at a distance. Another term I learned from the Huberman lab. They're stuck passively living and never taking a hold of the world around them and rising above the masses. Most of them are unintelligent as they spend their time scrolling through TikTok. And when I say action at a distance, I just mean that like you're acting in the present so that it benefits you in the present and for the future. Let me tell you why unintelligent women in my social circles is problematic because I kind of just glossed over it. The thing is, to experience love, you have to have mutual connection, mutual understanding, right? And the thing is, you can't have mutual understanding when you guys don't understand each other. I mean, that's that's it goes without saying, you know. And the thing is, if I have to have if I have to be in a relationship with an average girl that does not know anything about philosophy, is not intelligent at all, and it cannot grasp any concepts, I will not be able to open up to her because so much of my personality is just thoughts, thinking, you know, these philosophical ideas, you know. So that would be just a really half-assed relationship where all she really knows about me is that play the guitar and I'm interested in philosophy, and there's nothing more to that, you know. It's really surface level, and our conversations would really just be like, "Oh, how was your day? How's school going for you?" It would be incredibly boring and superficial, and I don't think love can exist in such a scenario. I think that in such a scenario, lust can only exist. You're only with that girl because she is a girl, because she has a girl body, because she has tits and boobs. I mean, tits and ass. You know, there's nothing deeper than that. It's really superficial. Yeah. Final paragraph here. This is what led me to justifying my contempt for romance, and I believe that convincing the reader of the atrocity of romance cannot be done through words alone. None of the arguments proposed by the various philosophers were particularly convincing, in my opinion. They were convincing to an extent, but not enough to view romance as a curse. I believe these philosophers leveraged their contempt for romance through their philosophical inquiry as a way to justify their emotions, to make it seem as if their contempt was wholly rational. And there is nothing wrong with that. Me personally, I wish that the world was arranged in such a way where romance was optional, where one could discard it without consequence. Unfortunately, that is not how the world works, and I believe that even the greatest ascetics are deeply troubled by the inability to expel this powerful emotion. To view romance as a curse is not to deny its beauty, but to acknowledge its costs.